This is BoomerLife on CL 650.
Welcome back to the program. Jack McIver from McIvers Appliances at 610 Southeast Marine Drive in Vancouver. Back with us on Boomer Life. We're talking about appliances and all things about all of those units in your house, whether it's the fridge, the dishwasher, the washer, the dryer, the stove, anything to do with all of those appliances. Our guy is here to talk about it. And Jack, I mentioned earlier in the opening segment, you take an awful lot of phone calls at McIvers, and most of those phone calls, not all certainly, but a great percentage of them are from people going, well, I have a problem. Can you help me out? You take a lot of service calls, and you make a lot of service calls, you and your team.
Yes, that's right. It's something that the business has always done. It's service, parts, sales of quality rebuilt appliances,
right,
and sales of new appliances, and operate a coin-operated leasing business also.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were sort of into recycling long before it became a fashionable thing to be into, because you've been selling used appliances or rebuilt appliances since the get-go, right? Since back to the 60s for that, and you continue to do so right up until 2015.
That's correct. We do rebuild the appliances. Our competitors test them and sell them. Patch them and sell them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rebuilding done by anyone anymore. Some ex-employees over the years started up in competition with me, and they did rebuilding because we had trained them, and there was a fair amount of rebuilding. We've always been probably the largest rebuilder of appliances because we do people's own appliances. Will rebuild their fridges, new compressors, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much dishwashers, but good stoves are well worthwhile doing because new stoves are garbage.
Mm.
So there's a steady, because I was one of the leading companies doing those type of things. We have built up a really large customer base that go that route. They don't run out and buy new stuff all the time. They buy good stuff and they get it fixed.
Right. And maintain it well, and and are constantly surprised at how long it continues to serve them well, right?
Absolutely.
Wanted to talk about some of the service calls because you're a great storyteller, and this is always my favorite part of it, of a good chat with Jack McIver. When you start telling about stories about some of the people you do work for, and we've got the McIver's mailbag and more tips to come, but this is the good stuff. This is where people, and you've been helping families in Vancouver since 1964. Now you're helping the sons and daughters of many of those early customers, and in some cases, now that it's 51 years later, Jack, you're starting to deal with their grandchildren as customers at McIvers now too, aren't you?
After the third appliance breaks down too soon, the father says, or grandfather says, I told you to go to McIvers. And they do.
All right. Now, a lot of the service calls you make are you get called out, and we talked about it with the tips on the dryers in the first place. Somebody will call you up and go, look, the clothes just aren't coming out of the washer, for example, as dry as they used to after the spin cycle, or the dryer's just not working well enough. It's not drying the clothes. It's after a cycle goes through, they're still damp. So off you go. And in many cases, and you alluded to this already once, in many cases, the dryer itself may be okay, or maybe a little tweak here and there, but in many cases, it's all backed up because of the venting. And I talked before the break about rats and venting, and how on earth could we possibly connect those dots? Well, Jack has been around a long time, and he's seen an awful lot of excuses for people blocking up the vents that are built into the walls of the outsides of our homes to allow the air from our appliances to escape to the great outdoors. Those vents get closed up by homeowners, and Jack, rats are a major cause of the concerns of homeowners. And if you think they're concerned now, just wait till the new garbage disposal rules start to filter through Vancouver and the suburbs. It's going to be even more of a concern.
And the aroma. Yeah.
Could be an interesting summer, this 2015.
Definitely.
But people, and you said some of the neighbors' kids have even come over and put rocks in these vent covers. I mean, so that's, in many cases, it's a venting issue. The machine itself is fine.
That's correct. We had a situation where we delivered a new Hibbs dryer made by Speed Queen, and we delivered a washer about 3 years ago. So down it went and got it down in the basement, took the other one out, and I looked at I was there myself, but my helper was helping me, and I looked at the dryer, and it looked like it had been awful hot, like the paint was kind of brownish.
Oh, okay.
You know, like it had been seriously overheating.
Right.
And I thought, I wonder what's going on here. So anyway, I looked up the ceiling, and the vent came out from behind the dryer, went across the ceiling and out the outside wall.
Okay.
So every time we deliver a new dryer or even a used dryer, we always go outside and give a look once we start the dryer up, just to see how the airflow is and looking for any problems there might be.
Right.
Well, I had an awful lot of trouble finding where the vent came out, because the man had replaced it with an air inlet plate, with which just has slits in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that off and I looked, and inside the wall I saw a screen with about a foot of lint behind it, and that had been plugged ever since he started that dryer up, because it was fine screen. And I couldn't even hear it. Like, as I said, I'm trying to figure out where it is. I know it's running because I started it up.
Exactly. Now you're outside and you can't hear it.
Yeah. So anyway, I found it, and so then I got my pliers and I ripped that screen out, and out came this huge bunch of lint, and then the dryer started working. So I went down and I advised him of his rights, and I said, you have no rights to any warranty with your venting like that. Oh, but the rats. I said, I know the rats. All you need is a decent metal vent hood with a damper in it that's closed by a spring that we sell for $20. And here you've ruined this dryer, and I really don't want you to ruin your new dryer.
So these vents, do they come, is it part of the package when you buy a new dryer, Jack? Because I know there's that hose that comes out of the back, and then it goes into the wall.
There's nothing comes with dryers for any venting.
Oh, okay.
They do come in packages, but a lot of that stuff is just trash. I mean, the old-fashioned metal pipe and the old-fashioned metal vent hood, UV doesn't deteriorate it. They last for 30-some years at least.
And typically, though, you see plastic, don't you? When you look at the side of a house near the, it's some kind of plastic
device. That's the American way. Do everything cheaper, so that you give the illusion of saving money. But they have screens in them, a lot of those, and they plug up pretty much right away too.
So these,
I'm always going around ripping out the screens.
Okay.
Yeah, when I see them.
So now you're talking about any plastic outside vent should be replaced.
Isn't as adequate as a metal one, because when you have a plastic one, it doesn't warm up, and whatever device, if it's got little flappers in it or whatever, they get weighted with damp lint, and then they don't open after that. So you have to keep scraping it off. And I said to a guy the other day, I said, why do you buggering around with this piece of crap vent hood here? Come down to the store and buy one that works, and you won't have to go out and clean them every 3 months.
Right.
Or if you fig it, then they don't open.
So now this metal one, it's an air pressure thing, right? When the dryer gets turned on, the pressure from the air forces the louvers open.
But the thing is the whole metal pipe heats up, and the outside of the vent heats up, vent hood.
Right.
So it's running warm. You put your hand on it, it'll be warm when they're dry. And that does not let the lint stick to it. But the plastic ones don't warm up, so the lint sticks to them.
Oh,
and it builds up.
And so lest one be intimidated by it's metal, it's got to be a lot more expensive. You say average price $20.
Yeah, but you don't have to buy another one for 20, 30 years.
Well, that's it.
So why not go with the good stuff?
Okay, now talk to us about the installation, because this leads me to believe that people don't install their own dryers. If you go out and buy a dryer from wherever, someone's going to deliver it. Someone's going to take it then to the proper place and hook it up and get that hose with the hot air escape set up and presumably connected to an outside vent.
Yep.
So is this then the fault typically of the installer or the person who sold the appliance in the first place? Because they're not necessarily even connected. Sometimes they contract out this installation stuff to people they've never met before.
Most of it's not installed because it's the companies operate under what we call drop and run delivery system. And that's it. They just put it in the laundry room and take the other ones out and they're yours. They don't want the responsibility of hooking them up.
Well, suppose now, and I would be a good candidate for this. I am my own worst enemy with a screwdriver in my hand, and I know you find that hilarious, but it's true. I'm just not mechanically inclined. If somebody dropped a dishwasher or a dryer or whatever in my house, I would be hooped. I wouldn't know what to do. So even just thinking about that from a purchase point of view, if you don't ask about installation and setup at the point of purchase, you could end up doing yourself a tremendous disservice.
We go out with a washer and dryer and take the old one out and put a new one in.
Right.
And if it's not a long consuming time, deal, it's $120 and all the venting is checked and everything's done and the hoses are put on and they're leveled and they're demonstrated.
Right.
That does not happen with other companies. Same with dishwashers. When I do a dishwasher, when the other guys do the dishwasher installations, we undo the wrongs under that sink because there's lots of wrongs in the installations of dishwashers.
So is the fact that a lot of the retailers don't have an installation team or division, is it a legal thing? Are they afraid of being sued? Something like that?
Of course. Because the caliber of installers isn't very high. Who's training them? Themselves? I mean, the people that I've trained, they know how to do it. And we do it properly, and everything works well. But I'm called old-fashioned or old school.
Yes.
Okay? So I'm just operating the way that works best. I'm not interested in picking up extra money by not doing anything for it. If I just deliver something in a box, we never do that.
Right. Get you to tell us.
We want to test it.
We'll get you to tell us some more venting stories here in a second. But, the takeaway from this whole discussion already is if you're contemplating, for example, a dryer and you're out there shopping and you should have McIvers appliances on Marine Drive on your list of comparison places to go look. But everywhere you go, perhaps you should start adding on this question. So let's just assume I buy this dryer. How's it going to get to my house? Who's going to hook it up? And how much is it going to cost me extra?
Okay.
Those are reasonable questions to ask, and I'll bet you, Jack, not a lot of young shoppers particularly ask them.
It can be lots, and I mean lots.
Right.
Because it's a contractor that makes the appointment. The contractor is called by the customer on a referral. So the onus and responsibility for the job is not with the company they bought the appliances from. It's from the contractor who in some cases can be useless.
And if you call the place where you bought it, they'll go, well, I'm sorry, it's we've sold you the unit. You've received the unit. If there are any issues, it's between you and those people now. We wash our hands of it.
Look, it's not easy to run a business in today's appliance business because the products are so bad that that's enough to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
In dealing with the installations of them and things like that, it's a real can of worms for them. So they just don't participate.
All right, now I need to take a quick break here. When we come back, I'm going to have to get you to tell us why you state so confidently so many of these new products are so bad. We're talking appliances with Jack McIver from McIvers Appliances at 610 Southeast Marine Drive right here in Vancouver. And there's lots more still ahead here on CIL 650's Boomer Life.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.